on. Welcome to WASA Distance Education. This is MBF3C, College Prep Math, and I'm Pete, and I'm your teacher. So, welcome to our very first class for semester 2A. Now, if you're just getting logged in, if you're just getting started with Smart Bridget, or if you haven't been able to get on to Smart Bridget yet, don't worry. We're just going to spend a few minutes at the beginning of this class going through the things that you'll need to log in, the things that you'll need for the course. So the first thing is, if you haven't called in to the radio yet, I'll give you the two numbers. One is the toll-free number, and then the other one's a local number if you're in the Sioux Lookout, Black-Sioux area. So the toll-free number is 1-800-465-7144. So that's 1-800-465-7144. Okay. The other number to call if you're in the Sioux Lookout, Black-Sioux area is 737-4017. That's 737-4017. All right, so I see we have Wiagama on. Who do we have there?
It's Charlotte.
Okay, hi Charlotte, good to see you.
I'm listening in from home to the radio.
Okay, great. Are you able to get into Smart Bridget?
No.
Okay, all right. So, but that's fine. Do you have your study guide with you?
Yeah, my papers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we'll be starting with the study guide. So then you'll be all set. Okay. I'll try and describe everything. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good. So and that's how it works. If you're just kind of getting started here, you're going to call into the radio, so then you can participate, and you can ask me questions. I can talk to you on the air. And then the other way to participate, which I recommend you do as well, if possible, you're going to need a computer, and you're going to log into Smart Bridget. Now, if you're at a learning center, then they're going to have Smart Bridget on there and already on the computers. You'll just run the program, and it will ask you which class you want to join, and there should only be one, but it's MBF3C, no password. You just click on it, and then you'll be able to see what is on my screen, okay, which is sort of like our blackboard for the course, or whiteboard maybe. Okay. Now, we have, you should have your Unit 1. You should also have something called the study guide. If you look down on the bottom, it says study guide, term 2A. Okay. So if you have that study guide, you can actually open it up near the back. I'll give you the exact page number. And it has detailed instructions for how to download the Smart Bridget software. It's a free download. It's a really short thing. So if you do have a computer, if you're at home and you have access to a computer, it's a really, really good idea to download this software. So that is on page, new study guide here. So that's going to be on page, all right, here we go. There we go, page 14 of the study guide. It's actually on the left-hand side of as you're going through it. So what you're going to do is go to the NNEC website, and the address for that is www.nnec.on.ca. You know, you could also just Google NNEC. I'll repeat that again in case you didn't write that down. So it's www.nnec.on.ca. Okay. So once you get there, if you're following along the study guide, it'll show you how to access the Smart Bridget software. But basically, up at the very top of the screen, it will say WASA Distance Education. It's in a black bar at the top there. And there's a picture of it in your study guide. You click on that, and it'll give you a drop-down menu with some things on it. Now, the last one in that list is Bridget. Okay, so you'll click on Bridget, and then it'll take you to a page where it says Smart Bridget, and you just click Download Software. Okay, and in fact, it has the instructions. The rest of the instructions are right on that screen. But basically, once you get to that SmartBridget page, you click on Download Software. A little box may come up at the bottom of your browser, at the very bottom, and it gives you, do you want to run, save, or cancel? And what you really want to do is run that. And all it does is just installs a very small piece of software. It's SmartBridget. And once that installs, then you should be able to start the SmartBridget software if it doesn't start already. Actually, it should start already. And you're going to just type your name at the top, or you can type a handle if you want. And then you're going to select meeting name. Okay, they call it a meeting. And it's just a drop-down box. You click on the little arrow that's in that box, and it'll give you a list. And there should only be me in there, MBF3C. Okay. So, and then you click Join Meeting after that. Okay. So you can go ahead and do that. And so I recommend you do preferably both call into the radio and log into SmartBridget. If you just log into SmartBridget, you'll be fine as long as you have a set of headphones or a speaker. You should still be able to hear me on SmartBridget. Okay. So that's SmartBridget. Now I'll show you how to use SmartBridget in the class. You'll have a little toolbox in kind of up in the screen. It shows you on page 16 of the study guide. And so you'll have some tools that you can use. And the main one that you'll be using, if you go from right to left, so that's kind of from right to left, not the way we read, the opposite way, you can click on, there's a hand icon that's just the second one in. And if you click on that, you're basically going to tell me that you raised your hand. So that's like if we were in a regular classroom and you wanted to get my attention. And that's actually important to use in combination with this other feature, which is you click on the little person icon, it pops down a list of all the people that are on, and there's also a little chat box here. So I can say, hi, Alex. Okay. And so then I know that somebody has also was able to log in. Okay. So if you want to ask me a question or want to say something, that's where you do it. You type your message and you click send. But because it doesn't automatically pop up for me. So once you do that, I would encourage you to then also raise your hand, just so that I know that you sent me a message. Okay. So those are the tools. The other tool that you may want to use here in the course is the third one in, which is the pen. And it's a little awkward because if you grabbed a pen, actually I don't even know if I can, oops, okay, well that didn't work. You should be able to use the pen to write on the smartboard. Okay, so if you wanted to write an answer or circle a question or something like that. Okay, we'll work on that a little bit later as well. Okay, so that was SmartBridget. So once you're on SmartBridget, then it's really very much like being in a classroom, right? You have the board there. You can hear me talking. I can hear you talking through the phone, right? Now, if you're just listening on a SmartBridget, it's a little more difficult as far as me hearing you. Okay, if you have a mic on your phone, I think I might be able to hear you if you say open my mic. And if you want to try that, just let me know, and we'll save a little bit of time to check that out. Okay. Now, of course, you can't see me, but other than that, I think it's very similar to a regular classroom. So let's take the study guide now, and let's just kind of open up the front of the study guide. Just kind of start. We'll go through it a little bit. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I do want to start the course material. We'll spend some of this lesson definitely talking about algebra, okay, because that's what you signed up for. So basically the MBF3C, it's a college prep math, and we're going to look at a bunch of topics that will help you if you're going to take some college classes. Okay, it'll also help you if you're going to take the grade 12 college prep class as well. And it really, I think the main point of this class is problem solving. It's going to talk to you quite a bit, going to show you quite a bit of ideas about problem solving. And there's a method of problem solving that I'm going to talk about. The four-step problem solving model is what I call it. And it just helps you to systematically attack problems and solve them. And make sure as much as possible that you're going to get the right answer at the end, okay, or a reasonable answer. So we're going to talk about that all throughout the class, okay, the problem-solving model. And well, the topics we're going to study, some algebra, going to talk about functions and things like that. I'm going to talk about interest rates and loans and things like that. Quite a bit on an entire chapter on geometry and trigonometry. And then we're also going to do a chapter on probability. Okay. So and data management. So how we present data, how we collect data, things like that. So and all of those topics are really presented as a way to kind of look at problems and solve some problems. Okay. Now let's see. So we're on page. If you get your study guide, we're on page 2, and so I've pretty much covered the course description. Let's talk about the materials you're going to need, which is on the middle of page 2. Now the main thing, you don't need any textbooks because all of the units that you're handed, you'll have 4 units, and that has pretty much all the information you need for the course. You are going to need a scientific calculator or an app. If you have a smartphone, you can get an app. And the scientific calculator here, I'm just going to advance the, okay. Just going to close that right now. So I'm just going to advance the smartboard here. So you're going to need a scientific calculator. Now the way you tell the difference between a regular calculator and a scientific calculator is that your scientific calculator has 3 buttons on it, usually in a row, SIN, COS, and TAN, right? Sine, cos, and tan. If your calculator has those buttons on it, it's the right calculator for the course. Okay, if it doesn't have those buttons on it, you're going to need to get a scientific calculator or a scientific calculator app. Now, I believe that this that the iPhone, the basic calculator that you can pull up in your menu, I think if you turn the phone sideways, it actually turns into a scientific calculator. So you can use that if that makes you, if you're happy with that. If not, if you need a scientific calculator, I can send you one up, and just let me know, and I'll talk about how to contact me just in a page or 2 here. Okay. So you'll need that pretty soon. So you really got to get on that. You're going to need line paper. You're going to need some graph paper or grid paper. And I can email you some if I have an email address for you. I can email you a sheet that you can print out or that the DEC can print out. You'll need a clear plastic ruler. I recommend a 15 centimeter or the 6-inch rulers. If possible, those are a little harder to find, I know. But for geometry, the type of work we're going to be doing, just having that shorter ruler, it makes it a lot easier to draw diagrams quickly. So I recommend a shorter one. So not the big, if you get the 12-inch ruler, it's fine. But if you can find one that's 6 inches, that would be ideal. Now, when I say with a good edge, one of the things, if you borrow a ruler from someone who's in school, or if you just kind of get a plastic ruler, clear plastic ruler, chances are the edge might be a little haggard, a little dodgy. So check the edge. It'll be fine for the beginning, but you really want one with a nice straight edge. And then writing utensil, of course, a pencil, eraser. If you feel better doing your work in pen, I have no problem with that. You just have to scratch stuff out. And again, I have no problem with that whatsoever. Okay, so whatever makes you more comfortable. Okay, if you want to work in pencil, pen, okay, whatever you want. Okay, now at the beginning of each lesson, there's a little list of expectations, sort of the things that you're going to learn in a lesson, just to kind of give you an idea of what to expect in the lesson. Okay, so we have 20 lessons in the course. Okay, and usually a lesson will spend sometimes one class on it, sometimes two classes, occasionally even more. And usually there's just one or two concepts. We introduce the concept, we give you some examples, we give you some practice problems, which are called support questions. Okay, the answers for the support questions are at the back of the unit. So if you're in Unit 1, working on lessons 1 to 5, the support questions will be in the last 5 or 6 pages of that unit. Okay. So it's a really good idea to do those support questions as you're learning, because they can help you check, right? You'll do the question, then you'll check the answer at the back. And if you got it right, then you're good. And if you got it wrong, well, then you can go back and reread the topic. Maybe, ask me for some help, or, you can ask about it in the class as well, because that's perfectly fine to ask questions during a class. So now you don't send in those support questions. I do recommend you spend some time doing them, but you don't have to send them in. So one of the things I'm going to say is, let's say they give you 5 questions to do for support questions, and you do 3 of them and you get them all right. Chances are you probably don't need to do any more, right? So only work on a support question until you're comfortable that you can solve the problems. Okay. Then you're going to move on to the key questions. Now the key questions, this is how you get your marks in the course. So there's key questions for every lesson. So there are 20 lessons or 20 sets of key questions. Key question 1 through key question 20. And of course the key questions within it, there's sub parts, right? There might be 10 sub parts. Okay. Some of them are pretty short. Some of them are pretty lengthy, especially at the beginning of the class. The key questions are pretty long. So this is where you get your marks for the course mostly, and then there's a final exam. So what you're going to do then is do the key questions. I suggest you do them as soon after the class as you can. We all have different schedules, so it might take you a couple days. But try to do as many of the key questions you can right after the class, because that'll help you decide whether you need some more help, or because that way, let's say you sit down right after this class and start doing key questions number 1, then that way tomorrow, if you had a problem, you can actually ask me at the beginning of the class. Okay, and I'm happy to show you some examples, give you some more practice questions, show you some more examples. Okay, that's what I'm here for. Now, once you've done your key questions for a particular lesson, you just send them in. You can give them to the DEC in the community, or you can just fax them in. This is our local number. This is our toll-free fax number. If you have a way of scanning them, some places do. You can also scan them and email them to me. Okay, and there's my email address. Okay, and all right, so that's your key questions. And once we get to the first set of key questions, I'll show you a bit more. Now, now that we've been talking about the homework and everything, let's talk about the structure of the classes. There's going to be 4 one-hour radio classes each week, so this is the first one. There's 4 classes this week, and we run for 9 weeks. Okay, so it's pretty quick for a high school class. After the 9th week, you have a week, at least a week, to kind of wrap things up. So it's not completely, like, it's not just 9 weeks and then you don't have any extra time. You have a little extra time after the 9 weeks to write the final exam and to hand in any assignments that you still have. Okay. Now our class days Monday to Thursday, so watch that. We don't have class on Friday. Friday is a good day to call me, contact me. I'm in the office all day, and if you need some help, especially if you need like a lot of help, then Friday be a good day. Really any day, but just Friday it's easy to reach me. Okay. Now let's see. Class time's 1 to 2, so we're 20 minutes into our class here, and in fact, we can't really go right till 2 because there's another class right after us. So going to be about 5-6 minutes before 2 that we stop, maybe even earlier. All right. And we already talked about participating. SmartBridget is this whiteboard software that we're using. And then the radio is, you just call in. If you're at the learning center, then you have the convener and the speakerphone, and you're able to participate that way. Okay, and here are the numbers. Okay, and I say please try and log in and call about 1 or 2 minutes before the scheduled start time, or near the scheduled start time. Okay, so if you start dialing at 2 or 5 after 2 minutes after 2, it'll be fine. If you go any later than that, you might miss a little bit of the beginning. You don't want to do that. Now, here's how you get a hold of me. Okay, and this is what I do, right? This is my job, is to help you get this credit. So don't hesitate to contact me. That's really what you should be doing. So outside of the class, then you usually can get me from 8:30 till noon, and then from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. If you called me at 5 after 2, I'm probably still walking back to my office. But so to sort of look at those times and kind of think, probably calling me at 5 to 12, I might not be in my office. But those are the times I'll be around, and you should be able to reach me. Okay. And then Friday, it's a much longer time because I'm there all day. Okay. And here are some numbers to contact me. Okay. And here's my email. So that's fine. You can always email me. I'm on Facebook, and I encourage you to find me on Facebook and send me a friend request. It doesn't mean that you're going to get recipes from me or kitten pictures or anything like that. All I do is I put math stuff on there. But if I can contact you through Facebook, one of the things I can do, if you want, is I can send you your marked work electronically in a private message on Facebook. And then you can have a look at it with much faster than mailing it back. Okay, so that's one of the things that I use Facebook for. Okay, so I'm not gonna spam you with stuff if we're friends on Facebook, but I can contact you and give you your marks and give you some help. Okay, now here's another great way to get a hold of me. That's my personal cell phone number. Okay, and what I suggest you do with that, let's say you're working away at the key questions on a weekend or late in the evening sometime, and you're having a problem. What I suggest you do, of course, you can always text me, right? That's no problem. You just text me. But what I suggest you do is you take a photo of if you're working on a question, either a question from the book, just take a photo of it. It cuts through a lot of trying to figure out what page, what unit, whatever. If you just send me a picture of the question, then I don't really need to look it up. And then another photo of any work you've done on it. Let's say that you've answered a question, you're not really sure you got it right. You can just take a picture of it and text it to my cell phone, and I'll get back to you, usually right away. Sometimes if I'm traveling or if I'm on the weekend, I'm out shopping, it might be an hour or so. But I will get right back to you, and I can help you that way. Okay, a lot faster than pretty much any other method. If you can call me on my cell phone too, but if I'm out, if I'm say in Dryden somewhere, it's going to be kind of difficult if you're trying to describe a question to me, right? So keep that in mind. But you're welcome to call me as well. But I encourage you to text. Okay, take a photo of your math problem and send it to me. It really works. Some students have been using it, and it works quite well. It's a little strange at first, but they get used to it. Okay, so here's the important part then. I probably should have started with this. Anyway, here's how you get your credit in the course. Okay. Successfully complete the key questions for each unit, so there's 20 of them, right? 1 to 20, and submit them for evaluation. So I'll mark them, I'll send them, I'll give you some feedback, some good feedback. Okay, I don't just mark things right or wrong. I actually tell you where you went wrong if you had some problems, give you some extra help right on the assignment. Okay, you got to complete the 3 unit tests. Maybe. We'll put a little asterisk beside that. I don't always ask students to write the unit tests, and it really depends on how you're doing with the key questions. Complete a culminating activity for the course, and then a final exam. Okay, and that's the whole thing. Okay, really shouldn't be too bad. The final exam is exactly the key questions, nothing new whatsoever. It is a closed book final exam, but we give you all the formulas. Okay, so if you're someone that gets nervous and you forget your formulas, don't worry about it. Every formula you're going to need will be on a separate sheet in that final exam. Okay, so now this is just the checklist, the actual checklist here. Unit 1, which is, we're right here right now. We're just getting ready to start that. And then there's 5 lessons per unit, possibly a unit test. And basically a unit test if you need the marks. If you don't need the marks, probably not going to have a unit test. Okay, and unit 2, lessons 6 through 10, and so on and so on. So there's 4 units in the course. Okay, and then plus our culminating activity and our final exam. And these 2 are worth 30%, and your key questions are worth 70% of your course, or your key questions in any quizzes or tests that you write. Okay, so there it is, and it shows you. Okay, there's also a learning skills and work habits chart, which yeah, that just is part of the feedback form, and you may see it on there. Okay, but mainly you'll get a feedback form with some notes about how you did, anything that you need to work on, and then you'll get the marked work as well. All right, and this is just a chart which shows how we rate the learning skills. Okay, you can read that. Now, this is a sort of a rough course calendar, but it gives you an idea of the pace. We basically have 4 units and we have 9 weeks. So we're going to save that 9th week for actually the review, the exam review, and any culminating activity. So you can actually write the final exam in that week, or you can even write it in the week after, so week 10, which means that we basically have 2 weeks to do 5 lessons, which is it's an okay pace. It shouldn't feel too rushed. Okay. Now, a lot of the questions in the course are word problems. So when it's a word problem, you are expected to write a complete sentence. Okay, and in some cases, the entire question is a word problem. So it's not just calculate something, but they actually ask you a word problem, to answer in words. So don't skip those. Okay, I know it has a lot of information here about writing sentences and how it's going to all be marked and everything, but just understand, I'm going to mark your answers, your written answers, based on your engagement with the material. Did you communicate with me? Okay, a little spelling mistakes, a little grammar mistakes, don't worry about it. Okay, this is a math class. We'll leave the grammar to, if there's a major problem, of course, that makes it difficult to understand, then that would be, there'd be some marks off for that. But as long as you're communicating, I'm not going to get too picky. Okay, so we'll just kind of go through these pages fairly quickly, but there's some good information there. There's not too many places here where you have to write an essay in the course, but you may have to write a paragraph. So this explains how to do it. Basically, you're going to use a kind of a sandwich method where you have an introduction, you put some good information in the middle of it, and then you're going to wrap it up. Okay, so you can read that in your own time, and this is basically, I don't know that all of our paragraphs are out of 7. What I would suggest is if you have a word problem, let's say it gives you 3 marks, then you probably want to have 3 points in it, plus an intro and a closing sentence. That would probably be a good way to gauge how much to write. Okay, here's some helpful misspelled words. Okay, some misused words. Okay, so you can read that. Now, we're going to talk about mathematics because that's what this course is about. So mathematics has its own conventions of style. So there's 2 ways you can use a style in mathematics when you're writing your solutions. You can follow what the book does, what the units do, the examples, okay, because they're usually pretty good. Or you can follow what I do. Very often I will show you the sample questions. I'll show you some of the support questions, and I might have a slightly different way of formatting things. Okay, so you can just pick one, and I'm it doesn't matter. As long as I can read it and follow it and understand it. The important part is if a problem has more than one or two simple steps, you can label each step and work in a systematic way. Okay. There's often different approaches to solving problems. Okay, so this is what I'm basically saying. There's a couple ways to do things. Okay. Now, in the handouts, you may have some room to work on the handouts, and then that's fine. You can work there. But if your writing is too big or if there's just not enough room, use a separate sheet. Okay? Now, here's really, really important. So I don't want to waste time. I don't want you to waste your time. If you're going to use a separate sheet, don't copy out the questions unless it really helps you. Okay? You don't have to copy out the question on a separate sheet. Just put the key question number at the top of the page and note which sub-question you're answering. So, key question number 1. Whoops, that was supposed to be a Q. That's not working. Key question number 1, sub-question 2, right? Part A. Okay, and as long as I can follow it, then it's fine. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so don't cram stuff onto the sheets. Some places they definitely don't give you enough room. Get a separate sheet of paper. Tell me what question you're solving and solve it. You don't have to write out the question. Okay. Here's a little tip about rounding money. There's a few places in the course where we're rounding money, and this explains how to do that rounding. So you can actually read that. I think that'll be fine. Here's the 4-step problem-solving model we're using. This is on the bottom of page 13. Okay. And don't worry, we're going to go through this quite a bit in the course. So 1, understand the problem. Okay, so you're going to read the question. You're going to underline anything that jumps out at you as necessary to solve the problem. You're going to make a plan to solve the problem. So that might be deciding what formula you're going to use. You might draw a diagram, things like that. Okay. Then you're going to carry out the plan, which is you do your calculations. And then you're going to look back. And one of the things about looking back is you ask yourself, is this answer reasonable? Does this answer make sense, right? If you're measuring the distance of a playground and you get 1,000 miles or 1,000 kilometers, chances are maybe something went wrong there. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, looking back. Okay. And I think is that it? Yeah, okay. Now, in your study guide, it tells you how to go and to access the archived classes. And it's very similar to where you find the Smart Bridget. This is on page 17 of the study guide. So that's one way to get the archived classes. The other way to get the archived classes is that I have a YouTube channel. And it's the same as my Facebook. It's PW space WASA. Okay, so you just go there, go to my channel, and then search for MBF3C, and then just find the one that's on the date of the class that you want to see. Okay, and you'll be able to, for example, you'll be able to see this class. Now, it might take a day or two to get the class posted up there, but generally I'll post them a couple of times a week. If you really need to see one, send me an email and I'll put it on right away. Okay, so that's another way to see the classes. YouTube has some advantages to it in that it streams the video rather than requiring you to download it. But it's on the other hand, maybe just go into the WASA Distance Education archive. You can download the whole file and then watch it over and over again. So yeah, it's up to you. Okay. Right. So I think I think we're done with the study guide intro, and that was probably a little longer than I intended to take. So let's take a look now at the first lesson. So you'll need your Unit 1, and it actually doesn't say anything. It says version A, 2A 2015. But if you open it up, it actually should say, no, it doesn't even say Unit 1. Okay, if you flip through on page 3 of the first unit, it should say Lesson 1. So let's try this. Yeah, well, we'll save that. Okay, so this is the front of Unit 1, but it doesn't really say anything. Okay. Yours actually will say 2A, 2015. All right. So, and a little bit of information, kind of just really a repeat of what was in the study guide. But here we go. Oh boy. There we go. This is Unit 1, Lesson 1. Okay, so we're going to do transformation to quadratic functions. Actually, we're going to start with a little bit of algebra first. And then we'll be on our way. Okay. Okay. Now, they just jump right into quadratics in Lesson 1. I thought we just spent a little bit of time maybe maybe just reviewing algebra a little bit here. So this isn't in the book, but I think it's kind of important. Let's say that we have an equation here. I'm going to say y equals x squared. Okay. Now, if you want to calculate these and you don't have a scientific calculator, you probably don't have a squared button, you can just do x times x, because that's what it means, squared. Okay. Now, if you see this equation, what we very often in algebra want to do is find out what a given y value is for a given x value when you kind of put it in some kind of equation. In this case, all we're doing is we're squaring it, right? So if we wanted to figure this out, we could actually make a chart to show what happens for a given x. We could show what the y value is in this case. Okay. I'm just going to change the blue here. So we have y equals x squared. Okay. So let's pick some numbers. Let's pick some x values. Let's pick 0, 1, and 2 for our x values. Okay. So what this really means then is for over here on the y side, we're going to replace the x with a 0. Okay, for this one line. So we can rewrite the equation y equals 0. You can put that in brackets, which kind of indicates that you've substituted a letter in there. It's a terrible looking 0, but anyway. And 0 squared, 0 times 0 is just equal to 0. Okay, so what we know then is that for x being set to 0, then that y value is 0. That's not very interesting, is it? The same as if we figure out when we set x equal to 1, so y equals, we're going to put 1 in brackets, squared. Okay. Well, what's 1 times 1? Okay. Also 1. Well, I picked a really boring example, didn't I? All right, but let's try this next one here. Actually, let's see if I can move this. Oops. Okay. Well, that didn't work. Trying to give myself a little more room here. Okay. Okay, so that was a 2. Okay. So if we have 2, so we can go y equals 2 in brackets. Well, what's 2 times 2? Oh, well, now something's happening. That's equal to 4. You see? Okay. So that's algebra, and that's where you set a variable to one value, say x, and then you find out what the equation works out to when you substitute in a number, a given number, for the variable. Okay. Now, this is a very simple equation, so it doesn't seem like it does very much, but it does actually have some interesting properties when we sort of pick some different numbers here. What if I picked -1 and -2 down here for my values? Okay, actually, it's gonna give myself a little more room. Okay. Well, now things get a little more interesting, because when I say that y equals -1, I'm going to put that in brackets. -1 squared. -1 times -1. Okay? This is going to be interesting. When you're multiplying signed numbers together, positive numbers, negative numbers, if the signs are the same, okay, your answer is going to be positive. So if both both of your numbers are positive, the answer is going to be positive. But if both of the numbers are negative, the answer is also going to be positive. So negative 1 times negative 1 is actually equal to 1. Okay. And then the other side of that is that if the signs are different, okay, the answer is going to be negative. Okay. So you try 2 times negative 3. 2 times 3 is going to be 6, but the signs are different, so the answer is going to be negative 6. Okay. All right. Now, if you get a scientific calculator, usually there's a separate button, not the minus sign, but usually there's a separate button. Very often it looks like this, plus minus. That's what it looks like. On some calculators, it's a negative sign in brackets. That makes a number negative. So you type the number in and then you press that button. Okay, usually you don't use the minus sign to make a number negative. Okay, so let's take a look at this last one here. Negative 2, so try this one. So y equals, now I'm putting negative 2 in brackets because I want to make sure that we understand we're substituting both the number and the sign. Okay, so negative 2 times negative 2, right? The signs are the same, so the answer is going to be positive. So when it's positive, and this is one of those style things with math, when we have a positive number, if it's the first number in a expression, we don't actually put the plus sign down. So it's just going to be 4 in this case. And that's a style thing. It also can sometimes be confusing, so I'm going to point these out as we go along, these sort of confusing style things. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's just pretty quick introduction to algebra, and we're gonna kind of take it slow anyway. Okay. Now there's another thing that you should probably know, and it's called the distributive property. I'm gonna have to go in here. Oop. Okay. Well, that didn't work. Okay. All right. That'll work. Just opening up this example. Okay, so we have this idea that you can use something called the distributive property. There's a whole lesson on this, or part of a lesson, but we kind of need it before we get there. So let's take a look at A. Now there's no y value here, so we're just going to figure out what this is. We're not actually finding a value, we're just finding what this expression turns into when we multiply. Basically what it's saying is to multiply to 5 by x, and then multiply it by positive 1, plus 1. Okay, that's the distributive property. Now, the reason I'm not picking a sign in front of the x is there is none written there, but we know that it's going to be positive. So when we have a expression like this, we can expand it by using the distributive property. We're basically going to multiply the number outside, or the term outside, by everything inside. And the easiest way to do this is, in my mind anyway, is to do the signs first. Keep in mind that that each expression in the parenthesis includes any sign that's in front of the variable or number. All right, so in the case of x, there's no sign in front of it. But what it means is that we assume that it's positive, because that's it. If it's positive, we don't write the sign. Okay, it makes stuff like this a little bit strange, but it really does simplify our expressions. We'd be writing a lot more if we didn't do stuff like that. So what we do then, if we're going to say 5 times x, basically we just write that as 5x. Okay, that's all it means. Okay. Okay, so 5 times anything, we don't know what x is, so we really can't work it out to a number. All we can do is say, if we had 1x and then we multiply that x 5 times, we don't know what x is, but it's going to be 5 of them. So we got 5 x's. Okay? So that's the first part of the distributive property. Now, the reason why I know that it's positive is that the 5 is positive and the x is positive. And remember that if the signs are the same, the answer is going to be positive. Okay? Now let's take a look at the second part of this. I have 5 times positive 1, and remember, it's a positive 5, right? We won't say the sign if it's positive. So I have a positive times a positive, which means that my answer for that little multiplication is going to be positive. Okay. And now 5 times 1, hopefully you'll be able to do that one, is just 5. Okay. So when you're doing these types of distributive property things, and then later on when we're doing FOIL, where we have 2 terms in each bracket, you're going to do the same process. You're going to figure out the sign first, then do the multiplication. It makes things a lot easier. Okay. Well, let's take a look at B over here. So, and I just realized that for those of you that don't have a Smart Bridget, you probably can't see what I'm doing. So for B, the expression for B is 3, and then in brackets, 2x plus 1. Okay. So it's 3, and then in brackets, 2x plus 1. That's not part of the course material. Okay. I'm going to find a way to put this on my Facebook page. Okay, after I get back to the office. So PW Wasa on Facebook. So go check my Facebook page after this is over if you didn't catch this. All right. So for B, it's 3 times 2x plus 1. Now again, the 3 is positive and both of the terms are positive inside the brackets. So everything is going to be positive. Now in a case like this where we have 3 times 2x, again, we don't know what x is, but it doesn't matter. We can still work with it because if I have 2 x's and then I get, I multiply that by 3, I don't know what the answer is, but it's 3 times 2, 6x. Okay, so all you do is multiply the numbers together, the constants. That's all you do. Okay, and it doesn't matter what the variable is, whether it's x or y or any other variable. The variable just comes along for the ride. Okay. Now, the next part here, we have positive 1, and remember we have 3. It's going to be positive. The signs are the same, so our sign is positive. Now we don't have to worry about the signs. Now we just look at the numbers. 3 times 1 is 3. And we're done right there. Okay. Now, let's take a look at question C. Now things get interesting because we have the 3, and remember, we assume it to be positive. And the first one, we already know how to do that. It's the same as the answer to B. 3 times 2x is just 6x. But take a look at this second result. I have positive 3 times negative 1. Remember, we work out the signs first, so we have to work out the sign there. And we also have to ask ourselves, are the signs the same or are they different? In this case, we have a positive times a negative. The signs are different, which means the answer is going to be negative. Always going to be negative if the signs are different. And then I just have 3 times 1. Well, 3 times 1 is 3. Okay. So that's how you handle a case where the signs are not both positive. Okay. Okay, well, let's take a look at D here. And so we have a negative 3 now sitting out in front. So we got to remember that when we're multiplying by the information inside the brackets, that we include the sign in front of the number. And I just wiped out the sign on the second one here. Okay. So I'll use a different color here. So we're multiplying negative 3 times positive 2x. So the signs are different, which means the answer is going to be negative. Okay. That's the tricky part, right? Because there's no plus sign in front of the 2. But you have to just remember that if there is no sign, then it's going to be positive. So I have a negative times a positive. the signs are different, the answer is going to be negative. And now we don't worry about the signs and we just ask ourselves, what is 3 times 2x? We've done it a few times now. It's going to be 6x. Okay. And now this next one is kind of interesting. We have a negative 3 times a negative 1. So I have a negative times a negative. The signs are the same, which means that the answer is, it's going to be positive. Okay? Now, if you're finding this confusing, it's fine. We'll do a few more of these as we go along. But this is a really important concept, and it'll help you a lot when we get into this algebra in this unit. And now we just have to, we've got the signs, 2 negatives, the result is positive. I have a 3 times a 1, which is just 3. Okay. Okay, we're sort of getting ready to wrap it up here, but let's just press on and see if we can do a couple more of these. So for E, I have a negative 1 times negative 2x minus 1. Now you're almost never going to see this. Okay, you're almost never going to see this because this is, again, a style thing. We don't tend to write it that way. The way we tend to write it is the way it's written in F. We leave off the 1, and we just put a negative sign in front of the bracket. Okay, so the way it would be actually written in your course material is the way it's written in F, which is negative, and then in brackets 2x minus 1. But what this means in F is exactly what you see here in E. All it means is if there's a negative in front of the bracket, it means that everything inside the bracket is being multiplied by negative 1. Okay, so let's see if we can work this out. So I have a negative 1 times negative 2. So the answer is going to be positive. So I don't have to write a plus sign down because it's the first term in an expression. You can if you want, but you don't usually write it down. Oops, well, that was a terrible plus sign. So I have a positive value, so then 1 times 2x is just 2x. Now for the second one, I have negative 1 times negative 1. Okay, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive because the signs are the same. And 1 times 1 is just 1. Okay. Well, take a look at what we did here. By multiplying negative 2x minus 1 by negative 1, notice we ended up with positive 2x plus 1. In other words, we flipped the signs around inside the parentheses. Right? You may keep that idea in mind when we do question 7, and that'll be it. F. That'll be it for today then. So for F, you notice we have the negative there. Whenever you see that negative, just remember that it means negative 1. Okay, so I have a negative 1 times positive 2x. So negative times a positive is negative. 1 times 2x is 2x. I have negative 1 times negative 1. And 1 times 1 is 1. Again, notice we had 2x minus 1. And when we were finished distributing that negative sign, that negative 1, we ended up with negative 2x plus 1. So we flipped all the signs around inside the brackets. Okay. So that'll wrap it up for today. We'll start tomorrow. We'll actually continue this. I'll review this a little bit. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to contact me, or you can just ask me tomorrow at the very beginning of the class.